Today we're in Spartanburg, South Carolina to visit with a true stock car legend. Sly, cunning. Who's that driver? David Pearson, of course, the Silver Fox. When the checker flags fell all through the 60s and the 70s, it seemed like David Pearson was always there battling for the win. We're going to take a look at that career when we come back with Johnny Hayes and David Pearson.
David, did you grow up in South Carolina? Is this where you're from originally?
Right here in Spartanburg.
Spartanburg.
Born and raised here.
How did you get started in racing originally?
Well, to start with, I guess what made me really want to get into racing was when I was climbing the fence watching the races over here at the fairground, watching Cotton Orange win. I seen him win a race over there, and it seemed like he was just riding around. And I said, well, if he can do that, I can do that, you know. And I said, when I get old enough and out of school, that's what I'm going to do for a living.
Did you grow up on dirt? Is that what you really liked best or drove first?
Well, that's what I drove first.
Right.
You know, I would like a little quarter-mile tracks and things like that.
Was it a big contrast to go from dirt to pavement for you? Just pretty easy?
Not really. The way I got started on asphalt was I was winning quite a few races down in Columbia. Earnhardt was winning a bunch of them then, Ralph Earnhardt. And they got me to come down because I was winning a lot here, so I went down there and I outrun him, and I said, well, this is not too bad. I started coming down here on Thursday. You know, they'd run Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday if I had to or could. So I was down there running, so they got Banjo to come down there to outrun me.
Banjo Matthews.
Banjo Matthews. So he came down there and almost left him, you know. So he come over and talked to me. He said, look here, you need to come to Asheville. I said, Banjo, that's asphalt, and I've never run asphalt before in my life. So here I got my dirt car and all that stuff and didn't know what to do to it. But anyway, I put the asphalt tires on it and went to Asheville. Well, I won the race, you know. So I said, well, that's good, you know. So Banjo hit me a little bit. You know, he was hippie if he knew he was going to outrun you know, outrun him. But he'd hit me and he'd tell me what to do and everything to get the car ready. And I went up there, and the first race I won. Second time I went, I demolished it. The steering arm broke.
How was it stepping up with the big guys, the legendary guys you'd always heard?
Well, back then, the way I got into Winston Cup, to tell you the truth, I was working at a service station up here at corner of North Church Street and Asheville Highway, and that's when I was winning all the big little races on dirt tracks. I won quite a few of them. So there's a friend of mine, which was a policeman at the same time, Ralph Sawyer. And he came in there. We had a mobile unit there, advertising the service station and radio stuff, you know. And he said, why don't we start a fan club and get some money and buy Jack Smith's car, which is Bud Moore was keeping up at the time, you know. Said, buy his old car and you run Grand National then. They call it Grand National instead of Winston Cup. And I said, you're crazy. I don't want to do that, you know. Them boys are running too fast and all that stuff like running at Daytona. And he said, you can do it. So he got bringing quarters, nickels, dollars, anything. Every time he collect a little money, he would come up to the station and give it to me. And I said, I don't want it. I don't, you know, I can't do that. And so he forced me into buying that car. I think he got probably, look, I'd say $1,000, you know, in money. And, of course, I borrowed the rest of it from my dad and went and bought the car because I couldn't give the money back. I didn't know where he got it. So I had to, he forced me, I had to buy it, see. And so I did that and went to Daytona. Didn't have enough money to buy tires, and I knew it before I left. So I got to Daytona. So I called back home and got money from my dad. I figured if I got there, then asked him for the money, I would get it instead of asking for it before I left. So I did that, and he sent me the money. And so I went ahead and run that.
So you started out, did you have any experience?
Didn't have any.
Super speedway?
No.
So
I like I broke my arm because they had a caution, and I threw my arm out the window to wave at the guys behind me, and my arm flew back. It felt like I broke it. Of course, that's the fastest I'd ever run. I think I qualified about 154 at that time, the first time I went there.
1961, you Rookie of the Year in 60. 61, you win the World 600, supposedly the biggest race of the year.
Yeah.
What happened there? Because I do remember you did not know who your crew members were.
No,
I do remember that victory.
I was getting the car ready, and they called me. I don't even know who called me now, where it was Bud Moore or Joe Littlejohn. I believe it was Joe Littlejohn. Asked me that I want to come to Charlotte and drive a factory car. And of course, you know me, yeah. It would tickle me to death to get to go run a factory car. And it was Ray Fox. So I went to Charlotte, and I never will forget. I went and tried the car out, and Ray said, well, how does it feel? I said, I don't know. It feels, I guess. You know, I've never run this fast. I don't know how it's supposed to feel, you know. But I ended up winning the race on that one. And I left there, and he said, you want to drive it at Daytona? And of course, July the 4th, and I did. And when I went to there and won that one, and I won and won in Atlanta. And at that time, nobody had never won 3 big races in 1 year, you know. So that just fit me, you know, picked right up. From then on, you know, I got a ride in a factory car.
Hickory Motor Speedway, 1966. You win in a Cotton Owens Dodge, number 6. You got $1,000 for the win. You win the championship that year. You remember racing in Hickory in those days?
I remember racing Hickory when it was dirt, and Junior Johnson led a lot of that race. And he was cutting across in the 1 and 2, coming off of 2, slanging mud. There was mud down in there, slanging mud on everybody else. You know,
On purpose.
for purpose.
Yeah.
So when I got in front, I got to doing the same thing. So it ended up, this car got to running hot. I was throwing mud all in the grill. And he run hot and fell out.
How was it in the Hallman Moody days?
It was good.
That was a big, supported factory operation.
It sure was. If we needed anything, I mean, we just go to shift and get it, you know. And if the motor wasn't running good, we'd just take it out and stick another one in there, you know. They had tractor and trailers full of motors. You know, of course, they furnished motors for everybody. And,
how many teams did they have in those days?
Ford, Lord, I don't know. It was, I really don't.
But were you Hallman Moody's only driver?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I know a lot of people.
I went with them in, 67? And I won the championship 67, or 68, 69 with Hallman Moody.
One of your greatest years, I never will forget that year, was 1971 when you ran the Pontiac for Chris Fallow. We didn't have a great year that year, did we?
No, we didn't. In fact, we never did even. We didn't finish too many races. We had a lot of problems. In fact, we went to Dallas, Texas one time. I flew out there, and I made reservations about 3 o'clock on an airplane to come back home. They want to know why I made it so early. I said, well, I never have finished one, so.
You had a flight going on for the races.
And I made the flight, too.
And you did make it?
I made the flight.
Well, it didn't take you long to change that whole situation. And in 72, you joined the Wood Brothers. Man, y'all were just magic together, and you were close friends. How did that come together originally?
I ran just a few races, one the first year, and Fort would run a few. And then the second year, he asked me about running. How did I want to run, or did I want to run half the races again this year and let Fort run another half, or what? And I said, no. I feel like it. If I'm going to run for you, I need to run all the races. I mean, not all the races, but run all the time instead of me part of the time and Fort part of the time. So I think Ford had made them kind of hot time or two anyway,
right.
For his remarks,
right.
I did. So they said, well, good, we'll just do that, And so I run for them all the time,
David scored 105 victories and only 574 starts. That's almost a win in every 5 starts. I'd like to have that average. He's second on the all-time win list, trailing only Richard Petty. He won the pole position 11 consecutive times at Charlotte from 1973 through 1978. He was twice voted most popular driver in 79 and 80 and claimed the NASCAR Winston Cup Championship 3 times. What a record.
You were always recognized as a guy that would outsmart everybody. The Fox. You were always known as the Silver Fox, and What gave you the insight to sit there and be able to think through that kind of pressure?
Well, you got to. I mean, I would say that that's about 50% of the winning is thinking about what to do. Back when I was with the Woods, we changed the car, but people never did think we did. That's how slick they was, or smart they was, you know. And if I needed just that much more weight on the left rear wheel, I would tell them, well, they would do it with air pressure, you know, and they never let anybody know. They measured tires for a long time before anybody ever knowed we was measuring tires, you know. And we would put more wedge in or take more wedge out. And a lot of times I was running harder than people thought I was because the car just wouldn't, I couldn't get no faster. And they say, oh, he's laying back.
Right.
But we was working on the car at the same time, you know, each time. Then I would say, well, he's beating me so in so place, you know, and I would keep working on that car to where I would be even with him there if I could, and still beat him through the other corners, you know. Then I knew that I would have it pretty well made, and I would get close to the end of the race. That's when I would.
Bud Moore told me a story earlier that...
well, that was the first mistake you made, listening to Bud Moore.
But I think he was telling the truth on this one. He said that they were racing against you. Maybe was it at Charlotte with Buddy Baker, coming late in the race, and Buddy Baker has a half lap lead on you and driving away, and says to Bud Moore, I've got him beat, right? Maybe 30 laps ago or so. And Bud said, not so fast, you know, take care of that car, right? And he said, and you're riding along, he said, all of a sudden he looks up, and here you come flying by, catching up with him. 3 laps to go, you go by him. And Bud Moore says, during the pass, right prior to the pass, you pushed the cigarette lighter in, lit your cigarette, went by Buddy, blew smoke at him, hit the ashes, and went on to win the race. Is that pretty close, true story?
I told you what I'd listen to. It wasn't quite that easy, I don't think. But now, I know Buddy, I used to aggravate him quite a bit, you know. And I'd do anything to aggravate him, you know. Now, I have went by and tipped a cigarette at him or something like that, and grin at him or throw it out, you know, or something like that. And I know one time I was on I don't know how it happened, but I was on the same radio frequency with him. I never did say nothing to him. You know, I never did let him hear that I was on the same frequency. We was running along, and I might have been Benny Parsons coming up, you know, behind us. I seen him catching, but it's leading the race, and I was running second. I said, hey, buddy, step on a little bit. I said, the kitchen's back there, you know. He didn't know what to think, you know. He said, I knowed I was in trouble then. You know, I talked to him last day. He said, I knew I was in trouble then. I was there running wide open. He was back there telling me to speed up a little bit.
Down the backstretch, Pearson hangs it all out. He and Richard both charged underneath Benny, and now the red and white number 21 is back in front. Look out! On the back chute, Pearson is loose.
At Daytona, 1975, you're leading the race by a bunch of laps. You spin out.
Cale hit.
Cale wrecked you. Okay.
Yeah, I remember that well. Coming off the 2, Cale was following Richie Pants. And so I was coming up to lap him. And that's the year that we had the long Talladega front ends, they call it, on the Fords.
Right.
That's what Cale said, the reason he hit me. So when I went by him to lap him, he was going to come over and behind me and pass Pants. And so he says he couldn't see the front of the car if he didn't realize or didn't judge, like the nose being a little bit longer. And when he come over, he hit my rear and spun me around, you know, and then he won the rest.
Well, you understood, didn't you? I mean, with Cale right after that, and he told you he...
Well, him being so short, too, you know, maybe he just couldn't see it.
The time you and Richard Petty were at Daytona, had the big wreck. You're passing each other last lap. You pass him. He drafts back by you. Y'all got together.
Yeah,
what really
he hit me.
He hit you?
Yeah, he hit me.
On purpose? The king?
I don't know where he done it for purpose or not, but...
You sure you didn't pull down on him a touch? Because when I was looking at that film, it looked like that.
No, you look at the film close. I was against the wall. I couldn't go no further out.
Down the long back chute, David Pearson once again claims the lead as he puts the hammer down. Both cars wound over their limits. Tack needles in the red, 2 flying hand grenades, and a frantic run for a checkered flag. At turn 4, the volcano erupts. Petty's Dodge slithering, sliding to a halt just a scant few feet from the checkered flag. He's unable to restart the engine. Pearson's car still running as he brings the crippled Mercury through the dust and across the finish line for the most spectacular win in stock car history.
I think what happened, I think he was trying to block me. You know, of course, I drafted by him, and you think he had me beat. If he would have just stayed down low and went on to the thing, he had me beat, because he was really running that day. He might have had a old big engine or something, I don't know.
Probably did,
but anyway, he was so much faster than I was. The minute I drafted by him, he just pulled out and come right back by me, you know, and coming off a 4. And I guess he passed me, so he thought maybe I might pass him that way. So he was going to pull back up in front of me. That's what I figured. And he didn't quite make it. He wasn't quite by me. And of course, his right rear hit my left front, and both of us started spinning.
In 79, y'all split.
Yeah.
Right, so I'd been together for a long, long time, and you had a problem at Darlington?
At Darlington, of course, I know I took off early before we got the wheels on it, but I didn't feel like it was my fault, because during the race, they didn't clean my windshield 2 or 3 times. And of course, I was behind, and they were trying to get me out first and all that stuff. And so I came in, and Glenn was there, standing there, cleaning my windshield. Well, I didn't see the guy come and squat down and taking the left front wheel off, you know, while Glenn was cleaning the windshield. And so they was telling me on the radio, you got to beat Darrell out. And Darrell was pitting right in front of me, you know. And quickly they dropped that right side jack, which that's signal to go, and I seen Darrell sitting there. I took off, you know. And of course I didn't get no further than the pit road, and the tires fell off of it. Then everybody thought that's the reason we split up, but it was coming before that. And, but we split up as friends. You know.
Yeah,
I think the world of them right now.
Yeah.
Love them to death.
One thing that used to drive the people in Charlotte crazy, that on the racetrack I know that they'd always try to build a big deal around qualifying. Come out and see who can sit on the pole. Well, you sat on it 12 or 13 years in a row, right?
Yeah. I hope they changed the track.
yes. Do something, right?
He come up there, he said, I got you one this time. He said, we've changed the racetrack, you know. So he come up there and he changed number 1 turn, you know, a little bit. So when he changed it, he come said that, and when I qualified and sat on the pole, I said, Humpy, you changed the wrong turn. Tiny
Lund. He was a character, wasn't he?
He was.
As far as playing jokes and
right.
kidding people and stuff.
Mm-hmm. You want me to tell you that story about the Hickory?
Yeah.
We was up there at the dirt track then, and we was there at Hickory, and he was leading the race, and I was running second. So I'd beat on him and everything else, and couldn't get him over, you know. So he cut me off and everything else. I just tried to go by and went outside, and he'd run up next to the fence. He'd do anything, you know. So I kept a beating on him, and after a while, he got right in front of the grandstand, you know, up around the front stretch, and threw that old big arm out the window and shook his fist at me, you know. So I said, right then, I said, now, if I don't hit him again, he's going to think I'm scared of him, you know. So going down in the corner, I just laid one on him and spun him out, you know. So after the race, he come up to me and was talking to me, wanted to know why I done it. And so I said, well, you knew why I done it. I said, because you wouldn't get over it. Then when you stuck your fist and shook your fist at me, I said, you thought I'd been scared of you, so I hadn't. And you'd run over me all the time then. So I just had to spin you out. And somebody had given him a strawberry pie, and he was eating it. And he said, well, that's all right. He said, that's just racing. So I ain't mad. Put his arm around me and throwed that pie right in my face, you know. So I was that stuff all over, and everybody laughed. So of course we had to laugh about it, you know.
Like 1985, I think you basically retired.
Well, I had trouble with my back, so after, it wasn't that long. It was about 83, 84, something like that. But I didn't officially retire until about 88. And in fact, in 88, talking about us being good friends, Leonard Wood called me and they wanted to know if I would run Charlotte. I don't even know who was driving for him then or what reason. And said it would be good for us to go back up there and try to sit on the pole again, you know, because we won so many poles. I think we won about 12, 13 in a row up there. So, and asked me did I want to go test and would I, you know, and try and see if I wanted to. So Leonard said, well, we run good, run real good. They was happy, you know. And the next morning, I couldn't even get out of the bed. My back was hurting so bad. So I had to call them and tell them that, you know, it wouldn't be right to come up there and run, start the race. You know, it wouldn't be right for them. It also wouldn't be right for the fans. And I said, I just can't do it, you know. And of course, I didn't even think about it, but the press got on to it and said, well, if you can't run here, where can you run? And I said, well, I don't know, you know. They said, does that mean you're going to retire? And I didn't want to ever say it, but they forced me into saying it. And that was the hardest word I ever made in my life, try to say.
David Pearson. I think they broke the mold when he retired. There hadn't been one like him since. One thing about the Silver Fox, not only was he sly and cunning on the track, but off the track as well. I'm Michael Waltrip. I hope you've enjoyed today's show, and I look forward to seeing you again on the Legends of Stock Car Racing.
Jim Hunter, one of your good buddies, big NASCAR official, used to be a big-time rider in Columbia, South Carolina. Now he runs Darlington Raceway.
Right. I pulled quite a few tricks on old Jim, and he went to a lot of races with me. I know we was in Savannah, Georgia one time going to North Wilkesboro. We were running late, or at least I told him that we got to hurry, you know. So he got to get a little faster, and when Strowman got us. And quickly he walked up to the window. I said, man, I'm so glad you stopped him. I said, I've been trying to get him to slow down ever since we left Savannah.
You told the policeman that?
Told him that.
Oh, good.
And Jim was so nervous he couldn't find his billfold. You know, he just was shaking. It didn't have it. I mean, he might have had $5 and fine whipped about 10. And he wanted to borrow some money. And I said, no, I'll take him to jail because he won't pay me back, you know. You know, Jim ain't paid me back yet.